example, in our ability to make and to have money, we trust that and that alone, or that ultimately, will keep us in good stead. We trust in that. That's where our faith really and truly is. Or our faith is somehow divided between the personal effort and control side of things over and against the Lord's control of things. This is why people oftentimes have so much trouble tithing. That is, giving to God what He says is His to begin with. We believe and we say that God will supply all of our needs according to His riches and glory, but just in case He doesn't, we're going to hedge our bet by holding back a little bit for ourselves, or maybe we bow down to the God of our own wits, our own minds. We say, things are going to be all right because we're smart. We're really smart. We can figure out this situation in life. Oh yes, we will follow God, but not without a few calculations on our own part and a fallback plan. Okay? We'll trust God, but we do want to have a plan B as well. All right? Not too long ago, I asked a colleague of mine, Pastor Steve Brinkman, out at the Crossroads Church in Pewaukee, about a very promising young woman that I remembered from my days there when I served as an interim pastor. He told me that unfortunately he hardly ever sees her anymore. She's about 20 years old now. She was a young teenager when I knew her. He told me that she's hardly there anymore because she has followed in her father's footsteps. Well, anytime, I remember the father quite well, anytime he had an opportunity to earn a little bit of extra money, he took it, even though doing so almost always meant that he would be working on Sundays. The fella wanted more house than he needed. He wanted nice cars and other nice things, and so his allegiance for a sense of security and well-being, and dare I say even joy in life, was bent in the direction of money. Now, he was a Christian man. I knew him well, and he wasn't as bad about this as he got later on. Now, his daughter works every Sunday with seemingly little or no concern for spiritual things. The gods in our own day and age can be very tempting, and they can be very damaging to our families as well. As we come to the middle section of the psalm, we see that it's devoted to the observation that all of the kings of the world would do well to affirm and to embrace the idea that God has the whole world in His hands. Suffice it to say that that was good wisdom then and it is good wisdom now. But I want to hasten on to the final section of the psalm where I think that there's more food for our thought. There are more things that we can see that have direct application in our lives. And so let's move towards the end of the psalm and look at what the psalmist has to say there. I want you to see, and this is my second and final point, notice the psalmist's absolute assurance that God would bring his life to its full purpose. Look there at the final verse, verse 8. The Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. Your love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not abandon the works of your hands. Some interpreters see an ambiguity in the fact that at the beginning of the psalm, The psalmist is thanking God for something that he's done in the past. He's there expressing his gratitude for the fact that the Lord has rescued him from some situation. And then as we come to this part, the tense shifts to the present and the future. So the question for the psalm becomes, is the psalmist grateful for what God has done, or is the psalmist affirming what God is doing and will do as we walk in the midst of trouble? Well, the answer to that question is yes. The psalmist is talking about the past. The psalmist is talking about the present, and he's talking about the future as well. That is what a life of faith is like. There's no finality in experiencing God's provision and grace. I thought about this idea at length early this morning. We never grow out of our need for God. Never do we grow out of that need. And the parental analogy of thinking about ourselves in relation to God, it breaks down at that point, because if we do a good job rearing our children, we rear them to be independent. Not that we don't want them to come see us and bring the grandkids over and all of that kind of thing, but we don't want to have 40-year-old kids that are still hanging off of us, And some of you have had those experiences, unfortunately. I know you have, and I've seen that happen. You raise your kids to become independent. The idea is that you want the nest to become empty. You want to, if necessary, even be willing, with tough love, to push kids out of the nest. Well, the Lord is not wanting to push us out of the nest. The Lord is not wanting us to grow up spiritually to the extent that we feel like, we've got it now. We no longer lead the Lord. We're smart. We have resources. We're good people. We've got everything we need. We're going to live